He had no force, no lightsaber, no army, just a hat, 2 blasters, and the complete willingness to do things everyone else would have said no to 3 times over. And still, this man robbed the Jedi Temple, took half the Senate hostage, and kidnapped Force-sensitive babies right under the Order's nose. Cad Bane was probably one of the most dangerous men of the Clone Wars. Not because he was stronger than the Jedi, but because he understood what the Jedi never wanted to admit. You don't have to beat a Jedi in a fair fight. You just have to make sure the fight is never fair. The Jedi had spent thousands of years preparing for the return of the Sith. They were not prepared for a cowboy with an invoice. Let's start with his first big statement, the hostage crisis in the Galactic Senate. Jabba, the Hutt's Uncle Zero, was locked in a prison on Coruscant. A normal bounty hunter would have bribed some guards. Cad Bane apparently thought, why sneak around when you can just insult the entire Republic instead? So he marched his team straight into one of the most important buildings in the galaxy and took half the Senate hostage. This wasn't a chaotic raid. He sealed the building, cut the communications, controlled the exits. Before the Jedi even understood what had happened, Bane had already written the rules of the game. And for a bargaining chip, he used C-3PO of all things. When your hostage taker is relaxed enough to send a nervous protocol droid as his messenger, you know the man has the situation handled. In the end, Bane got exactly what he wanted. Zero was released, Bane vanished, and the Republic stood there like a security plan written by a drunk gonk droid. And that was just the warm-up. Because next, Bane went after the one place the Jedi felt safer than anywhere else, the Jedi Temple. Palpatine gave him a job that was basically impossible. Steal a holocron from the vault of the Jedi Temple, not from a warehouse, from the heart of the Jedi Order. A normal bounty hunter would have refused, or at least asked whether Palpatine had had a little too much Sith tea that morning. Instead, Bane looked at the plan and realized he needed a way in, a distraction, and someone with access to areas he could never reach. So he got all of it. He hired a shape-shifting bounty hunter who took the identity of a Jedi and manipulated the archives from the inside. While the Jedi believed they still had control of their own temple, Bane's plan was already running right under their robes, and Bane himself moved in disguise through the holiest halls of the Order like he was just popping in to grab the mail. A criminal in the middle of the Jedi Temple, and nobody looked twice. That's the most embarrassing part. Not that Bane broke in, but that it worked. A temple full of masters and guards, and a man in a hat walks in, steals one of the Order's most dangerous objects, and walks back out. A humiliation with a cape. And here's where he was different. He didn't look for the most elegant way, but the most effective. To get the truly valuable information, he hunted the Jedi Master Bala Ropal, who held the key he needed. When Ropal refused, Bane tortured him in cold blood. The Jedi chose death over betraying the Order, and Bane just kept going. No hesitation, no monologue about honor, no dramatic, we're not so different. Cad Bane didn't treat Jedi like legendary warriors. He treated them like obstacles on a schedule. When Anakin and Ahsoka finally cornered him, you'd think it was over. A bounty hunter against 2 Jedi, one of them Anakin Skywalker, this should be finished in 3 seconds. But Bane didn't fight Anakin, he fought Anakin's weak spot. When Ahsoka was in danger, Bane stopped treating her as an opponent and turned her into a lever. Suddenly, it wasn't about a holocron or a job anymore. It was about Anakin's Padawan, and Bane knew exactly if you can't break a Jedi physically, you force him into a corner emotionally. That's the cruel thing about Cad Bane. He didn't need to have the Force to use it against the Jedi. He just needed to understand what they were attached to, and with the holocron came the darkest part of his plan. because Palpatine didn't want that information out of curiosity. He wanted the children, Force-sensitive children, scattered across the galaxy, some still babies, loved by their families, protected, completely unaware. And Cad Bane's job was to collect them, not as students, as raw material for Sidious. He traveled from world to world and stole children right out of their families. In one case, he crept past a sleeping mother at night and lifted the baby out of the crib. And this is the point where you'd normally make a joke, but there isn't one. That's exactly the point. This is where Cad Bane stops being the cool cowboy with a hat. This man has no red lines. He only has prices. And the most terrifying part, it worked. The most powerful order in the galaxy, thousands of years old, realized far too late that someone was stealing its future. Not temples, not planets, children. Cad Bane's entire combat style was one long rejection of fairness. Rockets in his boots, escape cables, a device that short-circuits lightsabers, and probably 3 more things in his coat that were banned for good reason. How does a man with no force get away with this again and again? He never fought the way the Jedi wanted to fight. A Jedi brings a lightsaber to a gunfight. Bane brings 6 unfair advantages and a grin. And that was his philosophy. If a Jedi jumped right, Bane already had a trap there. If a Jedi disarmed him, he had a second weapon. If a Jedi cornered him, his escape was already prepared. He wasn't a better warrior than the Jedi. He was a better planner. And sometimes that's much worse. A prepared enemy forces you to play along in his script. Even his own tools, Bane treated as disposable. His droid Todo, he used not like a companion, but like equipment, replaceable, prone to exploding. He planned betrayal, even where none was necessary, simply because it was more efficient. And still, he kept getting hired by Hutts, by crime bosses, and even by Darth Sidious himself. The biggest proof of his cleverness isn't that he worked for Sidious, but that he was still alive afterward. In Star Wars, that's roughly like working for a shark that wears a cape. Sooner or later, you're usually not an employee anymore, you're lunch. But Cad Bane collected, delivered, and vanished. Even when the Republic locked him up, it wasn't an ending for him. More of an administrative inconvenience. He broke out and kept going. And that's exactly why the end of his story is so bitter, because the man who outsmarted Jedi, Sith, senators, and crime bosses wasn't beaten by a Jedi in the end, not by a Sith, not by an army, but by Boba Fett, someone Bane himself had once met. Years later, they faced each other on Tatooine. 2 bounty hunters, 1 duel, old school. At first glance, exactly the kind of situation Cad Bane had won his entire life. 1 opponent, 1 moment, 1 hand on the blaster. Bane was older, but still deadly and ice cold. And here's the bitter part. In the classic duel, he was actually better. He drew faster, he hit first. If this duel had gone by Bane's rules, he would have won again, but that was exactly his mistake. He thought Boba Fett was still just a bounty hunter, a man who lives by the same rules. Draw faster, shoot harder, feel less. But Boba had changed. He had learned something Cad Bane never understood. Connection, loyalty, community, and yes, also the very persuasive argument of a Tusken Declassified stick. Boba didn't win because he was the better gunslinger. He won because he was no longer just a gunslinger. And that's the perfect ending for Cad Bane. The man who won his whole life by forcing others to play by his rules lost the moment someone changed the rules. Cad Bane never needed the Force. No bloodline, no prophecy, no lightsaber, no grand destiny. He just needed a plan no one saw coming, and the ruthlessness to see it through. He robbed the Jedi Temple. He blackmailed Anakin Skywalker. He stole children for Darth Sidious. He took half the Senate hostage. He worked for the devil himself. And got away with it for years, and maybe that's the real lesson about Cad Bane. In a galaxy full of chosen ones, one of the most dangerous men wasn't the one with the most power. It was the one who was best prepared. The Jedi saw him as just a bounty hunter, but that was their mistake. Cad Bane wasn't a man who fought legends. He was the man who showed them that legends can bleed. So the next time you hear someone say the Jedi were nearly unbeatable during the Clone Wars, think of Cad Bane, a man with no force, no lightsaber, no army, just a hat, 2 blasters, and enough nerve to make the Jedi Temple look like a poorly guarded supermarket.